Shalom, all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Ha'rakah Kodash. Double honors unto the apostles and elders of great millstone who rule well, and shalom to the hopeful elect. It's Paya Allah coming back at you again with another epistle, okay? And this one's going to be entitled, Live by the Gun, Die by. Alright? So, the time we're in a time of Esau, Edom's rulership, right? Esau, Edom, according to the Bible, Esau is the name of the firstborn child unto Isaac and Rebekah, right? And the name Esau, he was named appropriately so because when he came out, he lacked pigmentation, all right? And that's why they named him that, being a nomen omen, so to speak. And the fact that, name sign, that wasted away is he, as in wasted away is his pigment, Shashwa, all right? So, and then he became he also by nation got known by Edom, all right, Edomites, which Edom goes back to the Hebrew word Lashwan Kodash, Adawam, all right, which means red, okay? So it's the only nation of people on the earth named after a color. And it's fittingly enough that he's renamed all the people on the earth by forms of color, all right? But yeah, so we're in his present rulership, and his rulership was set up through prophecy, right, by Isaac, who was Yahweh Shai in a previous lifetime, one of his many previous lifetimes, because reincarnation is inside the Bible. Okay, so really what I want to delve into is his blessing of the sword and where it will end for him with the same blessing and how it's a gift and a curse. All right, so without further ado, I'm going to get right into this. This is Genesis 27. I'm going to start from 39. I'm going to read down to verse 42. So it reads, and Isaac his father answered and said unto him, behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth and of the dew of heaven from above. Right, so this is after Jacob, living not to his namesake, Yaakov, which means supplanter, managed to basically take Esau's blessing with the help of his mother, all right, Esau's blessing away from him, and basically gained the blessing of the firstborn, which was already set up in the spirit anyway, because it was prophesied when they were, when Rebekah fell away in her womb, all right, and the two children fighting. Okay, so this is after Jacob got the blessing and Esau has now found out and asked for a blessing from his father. So verse 39 says, and Isaac his father answered and said unto him, behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth and the dew of heaven from above. So we have total control over the earth. But here's the stipulation, verse 40, and by thy sword shalt thou live and shalt serve thy brother. All right, so you got protests going on right now with BLM, so-called Black Lives Matter, and all these different things going on around the earth, even down in Nigeria right now. That's presently what's popping off with the SARS movement and all that type of stuff, where Jake are kind of waking up and not feeling oppression, but that's in line with the times that we're in, all right, the prophecies of the Bible, uproars of the people. But staying on the point is the fact that Esau, Edom, the way that he maintains rulership over his brother Jacob, the so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans, is by way of the sword, all right? And the depths of that sword, it starts with obviously the gun, murdering, things of that nature, but it spills over into his cunningness, all right, which that's a point I'll touch on in a moment. So it says, let me read on, it says, and by thy sword shalt thou live and shalt serve thy brother, and it shall come to pass when thou shalt have the dominion that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck. And Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing wherewith his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, the days of mourning for my father are at hand, then will I slay my brother Jacob. And those words of Esau, her elder son, were told to Rebekah, and she sent and called Jacob her younger son, and said unto him, Behold, thy brother Esau, as touching thee, doth comfort himself, proposing to kill thee. Right? So he was upset at the fact of his blessing and what it was. But basically, it was told onto, and this is basically a reenactment, reincarnated, same spirits, Cain and Abel, right? Except the fact is that through the Spirit of the Lord, Cain was, Abel was preserved on this account, right? For the sake of future prophecies being fulfilled, all right? But what to remember, Esau being Cain, Esau's blessing being a sword. So when you go back to Cain, his name in the Hebrew is Qayan, which means dagger, okay? So basically, a dagger is a concealed form of weapon. There's some guile in using a dagger. It's usually there's a term or idiom known as cloak and dagger, all right? And that means basically, cloaks to hide, and the dagger is a small instrument that can be utilized in and out, and people won't realize what's happened. And that's why you have the Ehud the Benjamite, right? When he slayed the Ammonite, I believe, that was fat, and put the dagger inside him with his left hand, and the fat enfolded on itself, and he died, right? That was utilized because it's a weapon that basically is used in close quarters and for discretion. So that's the same thing with Cain. Now with Esau, it's a similar kind of thing, all right? Because it tells you in the book of Genesis, 2 chapters previous, 25, about Cain being a cunning hunter, all right? And when you look up the word cunning, the word there is yadai in the Lashon Kodash, which basically means to know or to perceive. So basically, and the first use of that word when you look up in the blue letter is basically with a serpent talking to Eve about the Most High knows that once you eat the fruit of that the tree of knowledge of good and evil, they will be as gods. All right. So in saying all of that, Esau's perception skills are top class basically, and he knows what he's doing. Like he's observant, and he looks for different ways as a devil would to be deceptive and get one over on people. Okay, so that's why now when you take it to the modern day, all right, the blessing coming into his hole right now, it tells you that in the book of Daniel, the 7th chapter, and I'll quickly read that, how he utilizes that blessing. So it's Daniel 7:7. I'm going to read 7 and 8, verse 7 and 8. So it reads, After this I saw in the night visions, and behold, a fourth beast, dreadful and terrible, and strong exceedingly, and he had great iron teeth. Okay, so this fourth beast is talking about Esau, Edom's rulership, dealing with, the Greeks, the Romans, and then the tail end of that rulership that we're presently in that time right now, right? That started with the Renaissance period, which basically means rebirth. Okay, because this is how it's meant to be, as it's said in the book of Revelations, that you should be loose for a season. All right, we're in that season of the end, basically. So it says, After this I saw in the night visions, and behold, a fourth beast, dreadful and terrible, and strong exceedingly, and he had great iron teeth. All right, teeth represent strength. Okay, and the iron teeth as well is goes hand in hand with the statue spoke of in the book of Daniel, the 2nd chapter, about having iron, the thighs and the legs of iron, basically. All right, because that basically talks about the Greco-Roman Empire. Okay, so it says iron is the most strong metal as well. So basically, that military might is greater. The splendor of it isn't that great, but basically the ability to use the sword is great, in line with his blessing. It devoured and brake in pieces and stamped the residue with the feet of it. Okay, and the residue dealing with the nation of Israel. Okay, and it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it. Why? Because they utilize a thing known as democracy. people rule, where you have two parties that decide upon rulership. Goes into in the book of Maccabees about voting into power a leader for a set season. Okay, and then you have going back to the Roman Empire, the plebeians and the Republicans, but then it's modern day in America. You got the Democrats and the Republicans. Over in the UK, you got the same thing. You got the Tories or the Conservatives and Labour. Okay, which are the Democrats. So reading on, it says and it had 10 horns, right, which represent the EU, all right, different nations. Verse 8, I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn, before whom there were 3 of the first horns, all right. So before that little horn's talking about America, and before it were the 3 horns of the British rulership, all right, Spain, Spaniards, and basically France, and all of them, they were taking out a power that was within America, and America was established upon that land. Before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots. They plucked them out and got them out of America. And behold, in this horn were eyes like eyes of a man, basically meaning technology, all right? And that really goes into the blessing that the Heavenly Father gave unto Esau Edom, which I'm going to get into, okay? So, and a mouth speaking great things, because they boast proudly when they really ain't. Pride wasn't made for man, right? So this is Isaiah 54:16, and it reads, behold, I have created the smith that bloweth the coals. Right, that's talking about the scientists that basically split the atoms to make the atom bomb that progressed into the nuclear bombs, etc., etc. All right, behold, I have created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire, and bringeth forth an instrument for his work. And I have created the waster to destroy. All right, so basically, the Most High done that. All right, created the scientists that basically established the ICBM to basically destroy, destroy this place, basically. All right, and to establish Esau's power. Okay, I'm jumping the gun. Okay, because it is prophesied in Isaiah 9:5 that that the last world, in the book of Revelation, is prophesied of 3 different world wars, and saying the third world cometh quickly, all right, which we're presently in the midst of, all right. But in Isaiah 9:5 breaks it down that all the wars before it was garments rolled in blood, men shouting, but the last one shall be by burning of fuel and fire, because it's going to be a firefight between basically the main 2 opponents being America and Russia and all their proxy armies alongside them. But in the tail end of it, America's going to get the worst of it, making the lake of fire, which is spoke of in the book of Revelations, right? Which is America's destruction, right? Becoming a lake of fire, right? And that's basically through that weapon that was given by this prophecy taking place. Revelations 13:13 came into play, with basically that all nations regarded America highly, because they brought miracles. Let me read it, because it'll go straight to the point of what I'm saying. Revelations 13:13, it reads, and he doth great wonders. That was it. It's a great wonder, so that he make a fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men. Right, so that basically was a play that made him establish his power. But in doing so, the Lord said it, hey, they that take up the sword shall perish by the sword. Okay, so that same thing he's living by is the same thing he's going to die by, because the Lord made it that weapon for his sake ultimately, right, with a goal in mind. So I'm going to finish up on this. It's Isaiah 34:1. I'm going to read down to verse 6. So it reads, come in here, ye nations, to hear, and hearken, you people. Let the earth hear, and all that is therein, the world, and all things that come forth of it. For the indignation, and this word is for everyone to understand, okay? Especially those of the nation, of the elect of the nation of Israel. For the indignation of the Lord Yahweh is upon all nations, and his fury upon all their armies. Ye have utterly destroyed them, ye have delivered them to the slaughter. Their slain also shall be cast out, and their stink shall come up out of their carcasses, and the mountains shall be melted for their blood. All right. And all the hosts of heaven shall be dissolved, and the heavens shall be rolled together as a scroll. And all their hosts shall fall down as a leaf falleth off the vine, and as fallen of the fig tree, the fig from the fig tree. All right. And this is basically talking about the destruction that's coming by way of the firefight, as I mentioned, Isaiah 9:5, because the Lord, that basically, that's the Most High's doing, all right? Esau thinks that having, what's that word he uses, that term he utilizes, nuclear deterrent, so-called, that no one want to fight with him, but they weren't made just to look pretty and to bully people into subjection. No, all right? The whole reason why America was established as a power, we read it in Revelation 13:13, by the miracles of raining fire from heaven, all right? But then, hey, that energy you put out there is now, the weak have said they're strong and have beat their plowshares into spears, okay? So verse 5, now this is the point. For my sword, because the ICBMs is the Heavenly Father's sword, it's not Esau's sword. For my sword shall be bathed in heaven. Behold, it shall come down upon Idumea, right? Idumea is a Greek form of saying Edom, all right? And upon the people of my curse to judgment, all right? So all the people that are allotted for judgment, that's the Lord's judgment, all right, is the sword, okay, being the ICBM missiles. The sword of the Lord is filled with blood. It is made fat with fatness, and with the blood of lambs and goats, with the fat of kidneys and rams. For the Lord Yahweh have a sacrifice in Bozrah, being the capital city in Esau, Edom, and have a great slaughter in the land of Idumea. Okay, so that's the reason why Esau was blessed by the sword, because by living by that same sword is the same sword he's gonna die by, right? And the elites, they're gonna be taken away from that judgment. It tells you that in the book of Amos 9:1. And so that Psalms 149 can be come into effect, where their nobles can be buying the fetters of iron. So with that, I pray you're edified. Say shalom.